So not only are we running our planet into the ground, we're bringing our intelligence down with it.
There are so many chemical pollutions that are increasing. You know, mercury, which is found in fish, perfluorates, plastics, BPA, etc. So the increase is exponential.
The harmfulness of endocrine disruptors is undisputed, but what's less clear is how much of an impact they have on our intelligence.
Of course, these things could greatly impair our intelligence, but whether they really affect middle-class people who live in a healthy environment, whether they have that strong of an impact is another question.
Neuroscience puts forward another theory for declining IQ scores.
We know from psychological experiments that humans can process about 11 to 60 bits per second.
But 11 million bits are flooding our brains every second. But it's not as if in the past our brains were able to process more stimuli either. Why are we only getting dumber now?
That's the problem of the modern age. We have a definite linear increase of interesting information spreading across our online world. But we have an exponential increase in bull, and bull is the problem. If you're no longer able to focus on certain stimuli because you've trained yourself out of that ability, you're not going to be able to complete these types of exercises on intelligence tests effectively.
This has been substantiated in a number of different studies. An especially convincing one was done at Stanford, with Stanford students, who are some of the top-performing students in the United States.
500 students were divided into 3 groups for an intelligence test. The first had their smartphones taken away. The second were simply told to turn them off, and the third were allowed to have them on. The third group performed the worst, and even the group with their cell phones turned off did significantly worse than the group that didn't have them in the room. So, we're getting dumber because we're too distracted by new media.
Intelligence is the ability to think logically and to reason.
I think it's all got to do with cognitive reserve or thinking outside the box.
It comes down to our brain's capacity to solve problems. That's what's measured on intelligence tests. That's the second, somewhat academic definition of intelligence.
Unless we use certain things repeatedly, at some point, connections in the brain tend to loosen up. And learning is all about making connections between stimuli and responses that weren't there before. That one stimulus triggers another. That certain behavior triggers new stimuli. That is what defines learning. If we stop doing that, it gets lost.
Okay.
For as long as we've been making technical inventions, people have been trying to outsource certain tasks. First, we tried to make fieldwork easier for ourselves. Then printing came along, so we no longer had to copy out every book. And now we no longer have to know how to navigate from A to B, because instead, we can be guided.
Our spatial orientation skills are getting much worse because we don't need them anymore. We have all kinds of navigation apps on the iPhone.
Even if our spatial orientation is getting worse, is it really harming our brains to use navigation systems?
There are objects that have to be folded or rotated, mental exercises. These are all activities that essentially try to split our thinking into atoms.